So Stephanie Meyer has announced Midnight Sun after 10 years. So you're expecting me to come on here and rip it apart and be the usual old curmudgeon I am. I'm not. Let's give you some history. Twilight came out when I was in my late teens in college. And a friend of mine had started reading it with I've still got them, the original UK covers of Twilight. I read them, and then I read New Moon, and then Eclipse, then Breaking Dawn. Then I bought the anniversary, gender-swapped Twilight. I own the graphic novels. And this is the weird thing. They occupy a point in my life where I was very lost, where I had my first major bout of depression, and I needed some escapism. Is Twilight actually a good book? Is Twilight a mirror image of every emotion we feel as a teenager? Yes. So let me explain. Twilight is escapist fantasy. Before Twilight, there were many mediums with the same tropes. There's countless others. There's been television shows, movies, anime, manga that all use this centuries-old vampire and the young girl and the innocence, and some take it to a bigger extreme, some take it to the lesser extreme. And I've always found that in discussions about this, people are not uncomfortable with it in those medium, but they're uncomfortable with it in Twilight. It's a trope that has existed for hundreds of years in literature, and it will always exist. Twilight isn't a serious vampire novel. It does come from the romantic sense, but it's not a vampire novel. You have to think of this more as a Jane Austen type thing. Can Stephanie Meyer write? That's an interesting question. No. Although her writing gets better, read The Host. By the way, read The Host. That is fantastic. And I stand by my opinion of The Host. Like, Stephanie, give us a sequel to The Host, because that's the best thing you've ever written. But Twilight occupies that teenage self, those moments that when we're young we all feel. From that crush, that boy, that girl that makes us feel amazing, that's all we think about. Everything is a big deal. You know, what they do, what they think, we're thinking about them. We talk to them on Messenger or constantly. They become a big part of us, and that's all part of first love. Are we meant to be with our first love? No. But that's what these books are. They represent those moments within us. They're an exaggerated cartoon version of the teenage experience. And a lot of hate was thrown at Stephanie Meyer for just creating something that young people wanted to read. She got young people reading. That's a good thing. And that's often what we forget. She got me reading again. Stephanie Meyer, this being a flawed writer, yes. Especially, I think, a lot of the issues with, especially the writing of the first Twilight and New Moon, is her editor. Whoever edited them, the word repetition needs to be fixed. That's what I found funny. The word repetition in Twilight is hilarious, especially the first two. But we all felt those feelings. We all had those moments. We all did stupid, crazy stuff as teenagers. As time went on, Twilight became a thing, and the films happened, and the films, to be honest, are nothing more than car commercials. Those books will always occupy our teenage selves, and the people excited about these, the Midnight Sun, are people like me, that maybe want to relive a little bit of our younger selves and be that person for however long it takes us to read these books. Twilight will always be that. What's my reaction to Midnight Sun? I am excited. I'm looking forward to reading it. I am actually really looking forward to it. I don't quite get the pomegranate. I think it's either a pomegranate or a passion fruit on the cover. I'm presuming a pomegranate, and I'm presuming that's a biblical reference because in the Hebrew Bible, Eve had a pomegranate, not an apple, because in that time the Middle East wouldn't have known what an apple was. I'm presuming it's the same theme and the biblical reference. It's basically Twilight retold from Edward's experience, and a version of this leaked years ago, which I've read, obviously. What I will say about it is that when that leaked, I remember my heart sinking because she decided not to publish it and being disappointed. But I get why. You know, your creative baby has been ripped out of your hands and slaughtered. I mean, and then you look at E.L. James, who profited majorly off Twilight fanfiction to the point that if you ever read 50 Shades, there's a lot of direct quotation. And I mean, if I was Stephanie Meyer, I would have so sued her ass. Like, I would have, because I'm like, that's a little... Like, there's fan fiction, there's taking influence, and borrowing elements, which does happen throughout fiction. There's only so many stories you can tell, but to direct quote some lines straight from it, and to be very obvious, it's basically fan fiction with the names changed. It's not good. E.L. James is probably the worst writer on the planet. But Twilight, those books occupy that time as a teenager, and I remember I ordered the final one and I read it, and yeah, the ending was a bit like, oh, it's a vision. But maybe I think people excited about this want to be that person again. We want to be who we were when we were 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, 18. We want to be that teenager again. We want to feel those experiences and maybe escape into it. There is nothing wrong with wanting to escape into fiction. There's nothing wrong with reading guilty pleasures. But sometimes it's nice just to revisit who we were, who we once were, who was that person that we were when we were a teenager. Stephenie Meyer may be a flawed writer. These tropes have been used so many times, but we rip them apart in Twilight because it's the Twilight Saga, because it's something young people want to read. Because at the time, it was teenagers reading, which, there wasn't much for us. I will read Midnight Sun. I will wholeheartedly buy it. The minute the pre-order is available, I'm going to pre-order that book because I want to be 18 again. I want to think back on those times with my friends. Good times in Cambridge and London and college and art school. My friend M, who isn't here anymore, who passed away a few years ago. I want to think of the times that me and Kitty got completely rat-assed and ended up pretending we weren't drunk on the way home from a college trip. Or the time we bunked off college to go to a Harry Potter event and found our tutor there. And his exact words were, who, by the way, who said he was sick, said, I won't tell if you don't. So, yeah, I agree Twilight is a flawed book. Twilight Saga is a flawed series. But there's nothing wrong with flaws. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be who we were, It's taken a long time to get Midnight Sun, and I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait. I'm excited about Midnight Sun, and I've got a long way to go. August. Bloody August. What I will say is, we can rip those books apart over and over and over again. You see those tropes used so many times. She started a boom in fiction. To be honest, it was the reason the original book community started on YouTube. Even what it's become, which is kind of a shell of its former self, these books probably started a lot of who we are today. Maybe we should just embrace that. Embrace the cheese, embrace the fun, and be who we were. Because we're all getting old. I'm 32, I have grey hair, and I'm bald. I'm losing my hair. Maybe being 18 again for a few days won't be a bad thing. Life was easier when I was 18. And I think it was for everyone. Twilight will forever be part of our identities in one form or another. And I remember gay clubs having Twilight nights. So before we jump down everyone's throats and rip everything apart, remember who we were when we were 18 or when we were teenagers. Remember that person we was. I think we owe Twilight a lot, and I think we always will.